And welcome to our first Tech Pride online event. My name is Natalie Ziv, and I am the head of PR and communication for eBay Emerging Markets. This event is a partnership between eBay Israel and LGBT Tech, a non-profit organization of professionals, people dedicated to enrich a strong community and to promote diversity and inclusion for LGBT. Diversity and inclusion at eBay is about making sure that our current and potential employees, and there are millions of buyers and sellers around the world, experience eBay as a place that is welcoming and inclusive. We continue to ground our efforts around diversity and inclusion in three strategic pillars: our workforce, who and how we hire; our workplace, how it feels when you are here; and our marketplace, how we intentionally include our buyers and sellers and the communities we are in. This year, we will celebrate our 25th anniversary. Now, more than ever, it's important for us to note that since the very beginning, and at our heart, we are a community. We are a community made up of diverse individuals, each of us enriched with different stories, background, and perspectives. Here at eBay, we come together as employees, sellers, and buyers. No matter our roles, we share the same purpose-driven desire to empower people and create economic opportunity for all across the globe. So let's start the event. Let me welcome Bradford Shellhammer, VP of Buyer Experience. Bradford leads one of our eBay most important offices in the US, the New York office, which houses its advertising, professionalism, design, and curation teams. And Bianca, who was included in the top 30 LGBT plus exclusive in Israel in 2020. During the session, you can use your chat or Q&A options to ask your question. Bianca and Bradford, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Bianca, you're on mute.
Okay, well, Bradford, now you've ruined it for everyone. Now I'll put myself off mute. All right. Listen, everybody, we're going to have a really good chat today. And if you've got any questions for Bradford, please feel free. Don't wait to the end. Feel free to post your question and we'll let you ask it. And let's make this just a really fun night. I don't want this to be the normal the normal Pride kind of fireside chat where we all know we want to be included. Let's have some fun today and let's learn some great lessons. You know, when Natalie introduced you, Bradford, she gave a really great bio. And to be honest, I looked at your Wikipedia page, which is even more impressive. You know, and
I don't know who wrote that, by the way. There's a lot of mistakes.
I don't know, but it was amazing. You know, when I typed in my name on Wikipedia, I got of Italian origin meaning white. So, you know, besides all of that, it's a little bit inaccurate. We've got a really great thing. Why don't we start off, Bradford? But why don't you tell us and the audience, and why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey that's not written, that's not public.
That's not public. Oh my God. I mean, I would say that my life has just been a journey of serendipity, and just full of the unexpected. I think, you know, I grew up, what you probably won't know, what people don't know is that I grew up in a, you know, extremely poor and in a very abusive home from a very early age. My father was a severe intravenous drug abuser. And, you know, I remember as a child stumbling, seeing him shoot up drugs. And I think that had like a really, it had a really important, it impacted me in a very oddly positive way. Because from a very, and I'll explain it a little bit more, and I can say that now with great confidence. I felt ashamed of saying it before, but you know, it started me on a journey of just kind of trying to find peace, inspiration outside of my home. And that started with music. And I got extremely inspired by music when I was growing up in the 80s. And that led to books, which finally led to kind of a obsession with New York City, which got me to move there once when I was 20 years old. And I think that like when you like immerse yourself in like reading about this like place, there's going to be a place where I find love and I am accepted and I'll find more people like myself. And then to have that realized, what it did to me was it basically gave me the confidence that I can, where there's a will, there's a way. And so nothing has been impossible for me because the one thing I dreamt about as a child actually happened pretty early in my life. And literally every single thing that's come at me since has been something that feel like I've been lucky. I've been at the right place at the right time. I've met the right people, but I've also just been open to the world. And I've been staring where I'm going. And so I think that sounds a little hokey, but like, that's something you won't see from my professional career is that my life has just been full of surprises, high and low. And I've been on the ride and it's been fun.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing story from the perspective that once you overcome a really poor abusive childhood, it must give you a feeling of, well, now if I overcame that,
yes.
Yes. What is that next to starting an idea and making?
And it also makes it easier, I think, to failure is like is something that it almost doesn't faze you. I had a startup at one point that I was on top of the world. We were valued at over $1 billion, and then in a matter of 4 years it crashed and burned, and like it was like I lost like my baby, and I was able to pick myself up because I'm like, oh, this is nothing compared to some of the other stuff I've seen. And so it just lets you also know that you could actually find great inspiration in the down times, which propel the high times.
Which is which is an interesting story from the perspective that it kind of, I think everyone on the call has probably been part of life generally, and especially those of us who are LGBT have come against struggles and have managed to overcome. But read about you. You've more than overcome that. You've built a career as a serial entrepreneur. We all know that involves successes, that involves knocks, that involves everything on the way. I'd love to know in the context specifically of being LGBT, has there ever been a time during that story, during that career, that you haven't been out?
Oh, God, no. God, no. It's pretty, I came out in like post-AIDS era, late 90s, mid 90s. And it was, I thought I waited too long at 18. I've always been kind of this kind of loud personality, and you see that visually in how I present myself as well as just like my actual voice. So I don't even think I had the luxury of being passable as a straight person. But so no, I've always been very out and obviously out. I have a funny story that my husband is an investment banker. When we met 11 years ago, he was working for Merrill Lynch in a very serious banking job. And he was in the closet at the time. It was obviously he's really smart and worked very hard to get where he is. But when he came out, his career kind of propelled forward in a way that I didn't have that same professional kind of experience. Like, as I said, I've always been this way, or at least presented myself pretty out. But although I didn't have that personal journey, I have seen it up close, kind of like unlocking your authenticity. Sometimes that might, I think, come with rejection, but I think more than that, it comes with like a deeper connection with people because you're no longer hiding something.
Yeah, I mean, like you've seen it. You can't get much closer than your husband. You know, when you see it in your own house, you could probably see how it physically was. He was what he was, and then suddenly it took off when he became himself.
Yeah, yeah, and his career is actually like it was on fast forward from the minute that he came out, and so I think there's other factors involved too, but I think it definitely helps. People can sense when people are hiding something. We're intuitive creatures.
Yeah. So, I just want to fit into this conversation. You've been out since you're 18. You probably thought, okay, I'm not going to pass anyway, so we may as well embrace it. But you've come on an incredible journey. I mean, eBay is no doubt one of the premium brands in the world. You're heading one of the most important offices of the whole organization, and you've come a lot. I'm a board member of LGBT Tech in Israel, and I know that the statistics out of Israel and why a lot of people are so scared to do what you've done, embrace it and build a career. Today in 2020, we've still got about a third, about 30% of people that have faced discrimination in the workplace.
Yeah. Yep.
And just by the way, Bradford, we've got to thank you and thank your colleagues at eBay, because by you helping host and sponsoring LGBT Tech, it's helping us sort of impact that, and you're playing such a critical part in that. But have you ever faced that, being out so early?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been faced with like overt homosexuality, homophobia in the workplace. It's been more down on the down low. So the good news is, like, I've been lucky enough to not have to go through that. I'm aware that that I'm also in a privileged place, being a white male as well. So I do think that, like, I have heard horror stories from other folks within the gay community who haven't had it as easy. And I think that certain sectors of industry also are probably more accommodating and more accepting too. So I'm not going to say that everything that I do that I've experienced is the norm, as you said. But I have been, there are things that have happened to me, even I would say somewhat recently, where, subtle things like, tone it down, or act more serious, or I remember, I'm not going to say who, but someone that I worked with this decade, told me that I'm shirtless too often in my Instagram, and people don't realize that these, or that I travel a lot, and all of these things have like mild hints of homophobia in my eyes. If I was, on a beach with a child in my arm with my shirt off, would they have said the same thing? If I was traveling with my children, would they say the same thing? And even like when someone says, be more serious, they're basically saying be less yourself in my eyes. And so my demeanor shouldn't be how you judge me. My work quality should be how you judge me. And so I take those moments as times to actually have really serious conversations with people about, hey, you're tiptoeing a line that makes me uncomfortable, and I want to tell you why, and I want to explain it to you, because I think a lot of straight people honestly just don't understand the concept of like a we have in the gay world, we have the depth of relationships and family that may not be blood, but it is still the same. It is as meaningful and as important. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that, or don't see it, or it's foreign for them. And so for me, no one's ever said, you're fired for being gay. That's a horrible thing. No one's ever said. It's been more subtle, but it's there. It's always there. Like, and it's often there.
The subtlety is actually crazy, right?
Yeah. But you know what? Here's the thing. Like, you can take that and run with it. For every person that's gonna be put off by the light that you're shining, or turned off by just joy. It's literally joy that there's 100 others that are drawn to it. and want to talk to you and want to engage. So the thing that's kept me going and keeps me happy is that most people are cool. Most people love authentic people. Most people love people who are transparent. Most people love people who have a smile on their face. And so I don't really think too much about the detractors or those who don't get it. But I do go out of my way to engage in meaningful conversation, and where something makes me uncomfortable. I feel empowered to be able to do that on the position I am in my life, but understand that others may not be as confident standing up for themselves just due to where they are in their journey, professionally, personally, whatever that is.
Yeah, and that's, look, obviously you reach a point where your work speaks for itself. In your younger years,
I'm still in my younger years. Come on.
But you said from 18, and like you're at least 26 now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. let's be honest with our audience here. Okay. So anyway, but what I found in my career is when I first came out, the discrimination was more kind of in my face, subtle, but in my face. For example, I would go to a job interview and I would get told things like, "Oh, that's interesting." It was crazy and subtle, but I couldn't it wasn't outright. It wasn't a person saying, "I hate you because you're part of the community."
Yep. Yeah, no, it actually, I mean, I think that there's like a lot of people talking about racism, prejudice, bias, and in the United States right now, obviously, because of the Black Life Matter conversation that's kind of erupted in the country, which is like a super, it's hard to witness, but it's also really inspiring at times because like there's been a Band-Aid that's been ripped off. And in hearing like my Black friends and just like listening, I see a lot of, oftentimes it's oftentimes subtle and ever lingering, and not with malice, but there. And that's the kind of bias and things that's like, it's hard to put your finger on, but as someone who's experienced it, like, you realize it's the way someone looks at you. It's a whisper they say to someone's friend as you walk by the street. It's those kind of small gestures that add up over time and aren't always someone calling you a horrible word to your face or firing you or it's usually the silent kind of discrimination that's allowed, and people don't confront it because it's not in your face. But it's there a lot.
And I guess,
and that's why I think organizations like this one is super important to support, because you think that LGBT community and has made so much progress. And yes, I think in many parts of the world, America, definitely Israel, that's true. There's still so much more to go, and there's so many more folks who are maybe gay and Black, or gay and poor, or gay or trans, that I think a lot of there's still times are tougher for some sections of our group, and I think right now it's really super important for us to be voices for those people that maybe are. It doesn't feel like we've made as much progress.
Bradford, the higher you've gone on the ladder, which is difficult to say because you've achieved so much. Have you become that sort of, those comments, those looks, those silences? Have you seen them become kind of less and less? Does that mean it's like?
Yes, yeah. As I said, I've been around since the 70s, and I've seen in my own lifetime like progress. Like it's visible. I can see it. Like I can see it mostly in the way that young people talk about other kinds of people, and that's what gives me the most hope. But I do think that things have gotten better, and definitely. I think it definitely in the workplace, especially like somewhere like eBay, I'll be super honest, that like it really doesn't exist because eBay is a kooky company that is founded on like diversity of people. That's literally the principles of the brand. And like, I really do believe that as an organization, we hold ourselves accountable to that standard, and we allow, a myriad of different types of people from all over the world to kind of have a voice in the company. But I know that why we're supportive of this, and I'm supportive of other in our New York office of other New York similar organizations in the United States, is because I'm aware that not everyone has the luxury that I do.
So Bradford, when you talk to your HR people at eBay about diversity, yep, and about inclusiveness in your company, and I see that Shai's also got, he's also asked a question related to that about struggles that we're still facing. When I talk to a lot of HR departments, I get told, you know what, we're inclusive. We don't mind what a person is. Everybody is welcome here. Okay. So the question is, like, in your opinion, is that enough? Like, I'm not discriminating as to actively and aggressively going after diversity? What is your take on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we do talk about it a lot, and I think that we could all be better. Like, I'll be super honest, like I could be better. And I think that, we were just on a call today with our CEO, and one of the things that he said today that he's committed to is more bias training, so that we understand like what are the types of bias we have when we're recruiting and hiring people and promoting people. And I think that that's a really important part of it, is just the awareness of kind of things that you may not actually know in the forefront of your mind that are actually contributing to how you're judging and talking to people. One of the things that I have really focused on, though, is an effort to bring diversity into my team. It's less about race, gender, sexuality, and those things, and it's more about diversity of experience, which does actually then end up being represented in a mix of different kinds of people. Is that, we work in tech, but a lot of the people that we work that work on our team actually come from places outside of tech. And so this has been a way for me to be very it has benefited us indirectly in terms of having our team look different visually. But when you hire people that didn't all go to the same school with the same background, that's kind of a way to inject diversity of at least thought into your organization and your team. That's been something that's been very helpful for me, because it's a very concrete thing, like knowing that there are certain jobs. And so, when you do product management, which is what my team is for the most part, having people with marketing, design, consulting, creative, and engineering under technical backgrounds, the mix of those conversations are greater when there's representatives of different kinds of thinking, and so that has been something that I've purposely done. Everything else, though, has been less about like it's been more about finding the right people in the right places. I think one of the other things that we are trying to do is my team is really trying to think about diversity of location. So that I work at a satellite office in New York, obviously New York, and I think that a New York mentality is way different than a California one, and just like me being aware and being empathetic to what it feels like to be kind of an outsider and not at the home base. We've now hired people in Israel on my team, so there's dozens of people on our team in our Israel office, and we're soon to be hiring and more people in Europe, and we've hired in Portland and Seattle and New York. And so we're trying to also like think about diversity, not just through the ones that immediately come to your mind in this setting, which is race, ethnicity, all those, but also just like background and location is something to consider. And it's just something, I think we could all be better at it if we thought about it more. And the great thing about eBay is that we are committed to it, and we actually have formal training on the topic. And as I said today, we were just talking about getting even more of that for every employee.
Right. And I mean, we always talk about this. And by the way, those are great insights, Bradford. I mean, LGBT is just part of a mosaic of humanity.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not the
yes,
entire diversity
yeah,
spectrum.
yeah,
It's location, it's race, it's
yeah,
skills, it's background, it's geography. There's so many different ways to have diverse, which adds to the culture, which
yeah,
adds to the success. When I build a sales team,
yeah.
invariably it's in startup companies, and I'm looking for diverse qualities.
Yes,
I look for one person who can build great relationships, one person who understands great technology, one person who's got a great
exactly.
work ethic. They can feed off each other.
Exactly. It's interesting too, like, like, that's ultimately what I look for too. Like, and I think that people that have, you know, had a different kind of upbringing, different kind of experience, oftentimes fit those boxes without you saying, I need to hire a gay person, or need to hire a woman, or need to hire this. They naturally surface when you have that lens that you actually want to have different kinds of people collected in your organization for a very real reason. Yeah, I mean, I think that like the conversation needs to happen in the gay community, at least in the United States, is so much progress has been made and so quickly, both in the court of public opinion, where like literally young people, it's not even an issue anymore, even with our most conservative politics, for white gay people. I think what the movement has to then happen and start to take on more ownership are the people who are at the intersection of different marginalized groups, trans and black and lesbian. Like that, those are the places where like so much progress has been made, yes, but does everyone in our group like really feel and see it day to day? I don't think so. And I think that that's where we have to lean in now, as especially gay white men, myself, is that we need to pick up and help those groups in however way we can. And I think the best way is right now, especially in the United States, is to listen.
Patrick, when you were developing all of these ideas and success in entrepreneurial companies, I mean, Fab.com, as we know, was a rocket ship for a long time.
Yeah. I think it might have been like other than Grindr, I think it was probably the gayest startup in the world. It was unapologetically gay. Fab was, even the name, and that one was it was funny. We literally sold gay to the world. That was what we were selling, a gay aesthetic, not the gay aesthetic. And yeah, it's a shame it ended up the way it ended up.
Well, yeah, I mean, these things can I guess, always kind of happen. And by the way, my son beat your 18-year-old record. He came out to me when he was 17.
Oh, amazing.
And he felt like so comfortable doing that. And that was probably the best gift that I could give him. So I guess this is truly an LGBT house.
I am shocked how young people are coming out these days. Like, shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even an issue, I mean, my parents knew that I was different when I was born. Basically, they didn't help me much, but it came to a long time to realize everything. But what is really important, and I'll get to me a bit later, but I'm interested from your journey. You've been living as your natural self person and building a life around that from childhood.
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors, any role models that could help you? How important was that as part of your journey that you could?
That's a great call. I mean, my role models are all people that I've met, some of them now, but mostly were people that I never met, never would. And those are, honestly, authors, artists, and musicians. Like, that's who got me through the darkest times. Like, I'll have to be super honest, especially music. Like, Morrissey, Boy George, Erasure, Pet Shop Boys, like their lyrics about being gay, whether they were like really overt or really subtle, were like kind of the unlock for me that, oh, there's this secret world out there for you where it's all going to be cool. And so for me, my mentors really were musicians and lyricists for the most part, because it was the lyrics. And if people ask me like what I do for my job, like I'm sometimes stumped like I don't even know how to describe what we do at work. Like, and I was just talking to, we have an intern, a woman named Amy. I was talking to her yesterday, and I was asking her, what do you tell your friends when you say what you're doing, product management? And she's like, it's really hard to explain it. I'm like, yeah, but like, if I had to like ask, like, in the core, what are you? Are you a designer? Are you a product thinker? Are you a decorator? Are you an artist? Are you a whatever? Like, I would say that like my number one love is being a writer, and like that is what's gotten me through like the darkest days is writing. And so my role models and mentors were not in real life. They were in my headphones, but very real. Like I still listen to music for many hours a day, and it is how I kind of make sense of my thoughts and what's going on in my life is through other people's words.
Yeah, I had a mental picture there of you writing and expressing your inner feelings, listening to a Boy George song from the 80s.
I love Boy George so much. Yeah, because the first company I started, I don't know if anyone knows this. Like people talk about Fab because like it was famous for a minute, but the first company I ever started was a blog called Queerty, which is still one of the most read gay blogs in the world. And so I was before there was Instagram. Influencers. I had a blog that like 300,000 people read every day in the late 90s and early 2000s. And so for me, writing was always like what I thought I was going to do and what I wanted to do with my life. And then I just happened to found a company, which took my life on another turn, which I do think is like an important thing, especially for this group, as you're thinking about like kind of like how do you navigate the startup culture, which is obviously so intense and so prevalent in Israel. Is I think it's like, here's my advice, and I think it translates to gay, straight, whoever, is be open to what comes your way. Don't try to like will your way. And that's like when you're open to new people, new experiences, taking the time to talk to people. I literally answer every single email that comes my way. Like when you are open to people, opportunities come that that may actually set you off on a path that ends up being way more awesome than what you had originally thought. Example is, I met eBay because I was trying to sell my last company, Bazaar. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd be working in corporate America. I always been like kind of underground, a little weird, like loud. I started some companies and now I'm just like, I can't even think about a time where I like wasn't working for a big corporate company because I actually love the structure so much. And the only way that this happened is because I had started my own company. So just know that success could end up being not this idea that you have in this company you've started and found it. Like for me, success has actually ended up being just like the people I've met along the way, and the work that I've gotten to do. And it doesn't always fit into a nice, neat box.
Yeah, and I guess that you found that in eBay and you found that in New York. How long have you got to be in New York to be called a New Yorker? Is that 20 years?
A decade. I'm a New Yorker now. It's been 20 years.
Congratulations.
I tried to give California a try twice. I've tried living there twice. I love my California friends. I love the people I work with in California, but it's just too freaking slow.
Yeah. I don't know how you would think of that in an Israeli context. How would I become a Tel Avivian? Would that if I went to work in shorts and sandals, would that make me an honorary Tel Avivian?
Well, I don't know. The country's so small that I think everyone in Israel could be a Tel Avivian in a matter of a couple hours if they just got in their car, right?
Yeah. True. Okay.
I love Tel Aviv, by the way. Like, as I said, like, what are New York, there's something about the energy of New York which you can literally touch, and there aren't many cities like that in the world. And honestly, Tel Aviv is one of them where you can actually feel a pulse. And so yeah. I wish that I was there live meeting you all there like we had originally planned, because, part of me setting up a team and my partner Lakshmi setting up a team in Israel was because of the talent and their entrepreneurship culture and the tech culture in our office. But part of it was also I just wanted to go to Tel Aviv a lot. So I hope.
I think the next time you come here, we can have the fireside chat with the actual fire.
Yes.
But they'll probably wait a little bit.
Or just on the beach.
Beaches are great. Oh, I love the beaches. But I mean, remember, I grew up in Johannesburg, and there were no beaches at all in Johannesburg. But Tel Aviv itself, and this is my experience, because I'm not originally Israeli. I know that's a shock considering my English and my lack of Hebrew. But anyway, what I found is that Tel Aviv, in terms of inclusiveness and diversity, is amazing. Nobody judges you. Similar to New York. I've been to New York many, many times. Just are who you are, and everybody will accept that.
Yeah, well, you know, like my whole, like, before I ever traveled to Israel and Tel Aviv, like, you know, my big one reference was Dana International. So I just assumed from a very early age that, like, Israelis were just cool because of that, because of Eurovision. Yeah, you're right. Like, Tel Aviv, like, I'm very inspired there. One, the weather is really great, and then the minds, the people that are just starting businesses left and right all over the place. It's overwhelming at times, but like the style, the food, the nightlife, like it's all good. You guys are very blessed.
I mean, the food is great, but I'm not biased because I just eat and eat. When I go to New York, I think I have 2 kilograms of pizza a day.
So let me ask you a question. For a place that's so, or maybe I should ask the group too, for a place that's like so, from someone like myself, like it looks like so accepting from the outside.
Right.
A culture of independent spirit, people being themselves, people starting companies, people doing amazing things, overcoming adversity. Like, what is the challenge for being gay and lesbian, transsexual, bisexual, questioning in Israel? Like, what progress still needs to be made?
I think that's a great question. I think Israel, and this is my opinion, and you know, I'll throw this over to the audience because that would be great. I think what Israel has is we haven't quite separated things like state and religion. Because of that, on the legislative field, they protect the rights of, for example, gay, lesbian discrimination for firing a person, but not trans.
Yep. Okay.
So there's a couple of things there.
Yeah, so similar to US.
Right. The next thing that I think we could definitely improve on is taking the inclusiveness of Tel Aviv that I'm sure you experienced, that was just amazing. But that won't be the same for many of the LGBT plus communities in, say, Beersheba or Jerusalem or other major cities that have a lot of tech companies in them. They still feel threatened, and they would still have an inclination, I guess, to feeling like, okay, we've got to hide this if you want to be successful. So I think we've got a lot of work to do if you look at Israel as a whole. So I think it's
you think it's deeply connected to religion?
I think that it's not fair to cast a group with a brush. I mean, I know some amazing religious people who are inclusive, and absolutely it's not that. But I think not separating state and religion, having religious laws as laws of the country, is sometimes an obstacle that we still got to overcome in a lot of ways. For example, you said your husband. I assume that you got married.
We did. You can't.
Okay, up until 2 days ago, you couldn't do it at all, and I'm not sure if you can do it officially yet in any of Israel, because religion is controlling the thing. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, my husband's not American. Well, he is American now, but when we met, he was not American. He's Bulgarian, and Bulgaria though the poorest member of the EU is a member of the EU, and they also do not have gay marriage. And still, I mean, that's way more backward than I would think Israel is, or at least the times I've been there. That's still very much we've helped found the first gay and lesbian center in the country of Bulgaria. My husband and I, with a former banker in the U.S. who moved back to Bulgaria to start it, but they're literally are creating the first gay and lesbian center and the first gay and lesbian organization. And just like you think about, like, in the heart of, even in Europe, there's places that are still very much decades backwards. There's a lot of progress that still needs to be made. That's why I think talking about all this stuff is super important. Like,
it is.
Because to a lot of people, you just say, oh yeah, it's, everything's equal. It's not. It's not even for like the ones that can truly claim that, and definitely for many people over the world, it's not.
I mean, it's really not. It's like, I'm sure in America as well. If you're in New York, it's one thing. And if you're in the middle of the Bible Belt in the South, it's probably something totally different. That's the way it is. We've got a few great questions, Brad.
Sure.
Let me read one out.
They're in Hebrew. Can you read them?
Well, I can read the English ones. I've got a secret button. Okay? I'm not going to tell you where my buttons are. Okay. Here's one for you. What is eBay Israel doing today to support the LGBT plus employees? Companies in Israel are going through their policies and addressing the needs of the LGBT community, transition policies for transgenders. That's interesting. Gay parenthood, unrecognized marriage is recognized, surrogacy, adoption, leave. Like, what does eBay Israel do about that today?
That's a good question. I probably can't answer it, but I'll maybe turn it over to Natalie, who can jump in and kind of talk about eBay Israel specifically. I can say this generally about eBay corporate as a culture, all of our offices. I meant it when I said that, like, one of our guiding principles is literally about celebrating diversity of people, of sellers, of products, of employees, and we very much, like, it is a corporate belief and just a really a tenet of who we are as an organization to, like, allow people to have their voice heard and be seen. And so I think that, like, whatever comes to, like, individual countries' policies, I think stems from that as just like that is a guiding principle or a company that we often talk about and reference. So Natalie, are you on the call that you could answer anything that's specifically happening in the Israeli office?
Yeah, I'm here, definitely. So we, as a part of the corporate, we are doing much the same, but we are trying to make our hiring processes equal. We are participating in actually funding every year the Pride Parade. We are celebrating this parade every year in Tel Aviv. This time during because of the COVID, we couldn't do that, so we changed it to this event. We're gonna support the LGBT tech for the next year, for the entire year. So I think we're gonna do much more activities this year. I think if I can think about all the vacations method, equal to all genders. So that's from, a quick answer.
Yeah. I think thank you for that. I think that, like, I don't know enough about our individual HR policies, but I'm imagining they are super liberal and somewhat progressive when it comes to kind of gay and lesbians and the unique family and situations that we have. I will say this, like, as someone that's similar to what Natalie said, is in New York, we fund 2 major gay and lesbian tech organizations. We literally give our space to them. They host parties, they host events, we have mentoring sessions and stuff. So eBay's foundation is all about kind of entrepreneurship and people that are doing. And so we have been supporting groups that, one, represent gay, lesbian, transsexual, bisexual, questioning folks in the tech world. because we're obviously connected to that. And that's where I think we're putting a lot of, personally in New York City, a lot of our energy towards kind of supporting those by donating large amounts of money to kind of keep those programs alive, because we do believe that like the visibility, the mentorship, the recruiting that comes with those kind of organizations on the ground are super important.
Yeah, well, thanks. And Natalie and Bradford, I mean, in particular, I know that you helping LGBT tech is an active step. We're trying to use that money to hopefully empower and help improve the situation as it needs done. So thank you very much. And I want to move on to a comment by Alak, because Alak brings a very topical question to the table, where he's connected this, especially in these times, with our coronavirus reality, where everybody's been locked up for a while. And one of the biggest sectors to suffer are not really the eBays, although obviously every organization suffers, but are the small businesses that need sort of special assistance around the world. And the question is like, how's eBay's approach to incorporating, addressing kind of the pink economy, especially promoting a special hub, small businesses? How are we helping them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I can answer it very confidently by saying like eBay is awesome for small business. Like unlike our major competitors, I'm not going to say their names, who erase the concept of who the seller is on their platforms and actually compete with them. Like eBay has from day one been about propping up either real people or real businesses with the connections to other real people. And so during COVID, we have created this campaign called Up and Running, which is really about getting more small mom and pop local businesses up on the platform to be able to take advantage of the shift of buying behavior that's gone to online while we've been going through all this. Like eBay's always been about the awesomeness of our sellers. Like it is, there's literally so many stories. I mean, they're literally in the millions of people who have basically gotten by or thrived or hired giant teams or kept their like brick and mortar store open because of their sales on eBay. That is why it feels good to come to work every day. It's why it feels really good to come to work every day during COVID, is because we're not just like selling things while people are stuck at home. We're actually selling things from people who need the commerce, who may not even be able to open their doors. And that is that opportunity that we create. Something that I don't know if we do well enough is spotlighting gay, lesbian, trans-owned businesses. I think we could probably do that more, and I think I'll take that back as like as a nice thing to think about for next year during Pride and even throughout the year. Is like, how can you maybe spotlight those? I think it's a tricky thing. You know, eBay's this global platform. There's a billion products for sale. Like it is an even playing field. So we don't do a lot of like shining a spotlight on this seller over that seller. We want their prices, their service, their lead times, the quality of the product, what they're offering to be what kind of separates them from the pack. But I do think that there are probably things that we could do more to at least tell the stories of gay-owned businesses on our platform. And I'll take that back as some feedback to bring back. But like, it's awesome to work at eBay because what you are doing is like, it's kind of like we're the like fighting for the little guy. I know eBay, you said, is a big brand, but we're really not. We're this platform that makes all these little brands connect.
Yeah. Okay, so let's reach a compromise, Bradford. You're a big brand that empowers little brands.
Yeah.
How's that?
And that's why it's like it feels good to work at eBay because it's like it may not be curing cancer or saving the world or ending war, but it's doing good in the world, and it's nice to wake up and do good in the contribute to doing good in the world.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's to wake up energized every day and go to work in a place that's making a difference is super important. You know, I started a new startup as well, and it's most amazing experience getting up and just loving life.
Yeah, I should probably then say, you know, if anyone on the call is watching, and you know, you should reach out to eBay Israel if you want to come join the team too, because we are always hiring. So get that plug in.
Yeah, and I think it will be a great opportunity. Trust me, after working with the eBay folks for a week or two, send those CVs quickly. Okay, I got a really juicy question from
Okay,
Shellhammer.
oh God.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think you would be doing for a living if you were born a few generations ago?
Oh, God.
Way before the tech age and the gay age.
Well, the gay age was always there. So when I immediately went to like the 1920s, but you're talking about way before then, huh?
Well, let's put a date on Tushai's comment. Let's say that you were born in 1850, where Puritan and homosexuality was illegal, and you would even be thrown in jail.
Yeah.
What do you think your living would be?
I mean, here's the sad reality, and this is probably like where like why those like stories of like people who were trailblazers in the industry really kind of inspired me as a kid. I'd probably be dead. Like, I'll be super honest. Like, I don't think I could hide who I am. And I probably, if I'm very lucky with where I was born and when I was born. I don't take that for granted. I'm actually aware of it every day, and that's why I'm never going to not be myself. But if I had to choose, I want to go back to like Shakespeare's time. I would be a court jester or like a vaudeville maybe in the 1800s, a circus performer or a vaudeville actor or something like that. It would definitely be something that would allow me to wear, costumes and makeup, and maybe get by.
Yeah, I guess like, I can't think conceptually what it would be like living your entire life as a secret. It's unimaginable.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean,
Just it's crazy. It's sad to think that so many people do it.
have you watched that new series on Netflix that came out exactly 2 days ago called Disclosure?
I haven't because I don't really watch TV, but should I?
No,
Yeah.
but I'm not endorsing or saying what to do.
Yeah.
But the interesting part about it in terms of the context of our thing is it's a trans-based documentary,
Okay.
but it's about role models that we spoke about today. And it's very much, when it looks at before the trans age,
Yeah.
you said before the gay age, I think you've got to look way back.
Yes. Yeah.
When you look at before the trans age, you maybe got to look at a few years ago.
Yeah. It's funny. I really think that like the time is now to tell that story. Like, I think that we are like, although I desperately searched for it as a child, I think like pop culture is saturated in stories of kind of gay and lesbian, even more so gay, less lesbian. But I do believe there's still so much storytelling about trans icons and the people who really paved the way that kind of even someone that's probably in the know, is oblivious to. I will check it out. Yeah.
And then Bradford, in non-isolation times, when we say society is moving on, I could see, and most of my friends who are not in the LGBT community would say, well, why is visibility? Why dance on trucks through the street and go on pride parades? Like, we know there's a gay community and a lesbian community. We know that everybody exists.
Yep.
We don't prejudice against them. Why do you have to throw it in everyone? Like, why is this still important today?
Two things for me. One is I think it shows the resiliency of gay people. And so one is like gay people have been tormented, hung, basically with AIDS, like a generation of men wiped out. There are still trans Black women that are literally murdered every day in the United States without much even like news on the matter. I think that one is don't confuse the joy of celebration with something that's cheap and thin. The actual to be able to have a voice that loud and to let go and be that wild and be that fun comes from actually is fueled from a dark place and a great respect for many people who lost their lives or didn't have it as easy. So until there is a day where you don't have to come out. There needs to be a gay pride float in every city, and there needs to be whatever way that we can express it, whether that's nightclubs, disco music, acting, music, arts, whatever it is. When someone says, you know, why do you need a gay pride parade? One, it's honoring people who don't have it as easy or people that paved the way to get us to this moment. And two, it's when you have people calling you this word to your face and this word behind your back, I'm allowed to have a moment or two to scream from the top of my lungs, and you're just going to have to watch it. I'm sorry. And I think that is, you know, as I said, if we ever get to a place where you don't have to come out, which is never going to happen in my lifetime, probably, we need to have those moments of celebration as a reminder, and as a beacon for people that are struggling. There's a better time and a better place for you out there eventually. Yep.
Yeah, and I've got to be completely honest with you. I've lost track of time.
Okay.
I think I can literally talk to you until tomorrow, because I think it's inspirational to so many people on the call, and to me personally.
Thank you guys for having me. I thank you all. As I said, I met a small group of folks when I was there the last time, and it was just a really nice night. And we drank too much wine, and we gossiped, and we talked about good and bad in the industry there. For you guys to think that I'd be worth talking to on a camera for an hour is very humbling, and I just want to say thank you for thinking about me and of eBay. We're very happy to support your organization.
Thanks, Bradford. And, you know, I hope, and you definitely are going to be, like I said, an inspiration to an awful lot of people. eBay support is something that we will definitely put to great use. And to sum up here, we have to make a time to have a party on a Tel Aviv beach to Boy George and celebrate our second in summer.
Sign me up. Sign me up. As soon as I can get on an airplane, I'm coming.
We're looking forward to it. That's our next event.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Bradford. Thank you, Bianca. All participants will get tomorrow an email with a link to our open position here in Israel. And you can find also the record of this event on our Facebook page. Okay. So take care. Have a great evening or day.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.